Hello and welcome to Rural Talks. Friends, today I'm super excited to welcome Mr. Sanjay Panigri, an FMCG expert on discussion on the evolution of rural markets and consumers. Friends, in past few months, all sectors have been impacted. FMCG still continues to be the fourth largest sector in Indian economy, surviving and possibly growing. But FMCG companies have miles to go to manage multiple challenges such as dispersed demand, rising competition, product innovation, attracting right talent, rising advertising costs, and so many numerous challenges they have to face. So, to give some of his views, we have Mr. Sanjay Panigri, first batch pass out from IRMA with 4 decades of rich experience in FMCG sector, working with companies like Amul, Isahaj, Pidilite to speak to us. His passion for rural India has remained unabated and firm believer of process-centric approach to management and leadership. So not wasting much time, let me welcome Mr. Sanjay Panigiri to Rural Talks. So welcome Sanjay ji. You had a 4 decade long illustrious career in rural marketing. And how do you envisage the future of rural markets?
Thank you, Ajay, for the invite to Rural Talks. Great to be here and
Thank you.
to be speaking to you on a subject which is very close to my heart.
Yes.
I think in 4 decades that I have worked, I have though many a time I have in a way gone and ahead and worked in other sectors, but everywhere I have been some or the other way associated with rural. There were 2 phases in my career where I was working in a business model which was completely with the rural segment. But over years, I have seen the way the rural market has evolved in India is pretty interesting. And in the last about 2 decades or 1.5 decades, 10 to 15 years, uh, as all of us are aware, the use of technology and advancement of digital to a large extent also has if I may say, have enabled a lot of things in rural which was looking near impossible in the past. So I think rural is a very interesting phase today in the entire Indian economy, and I only think that its contribution as well as its importance is only going to grow. You know, in fact, a small quip here could be that post COVID, there has been a lot of talk about that rural market is going to grow. It is going to grow more than urban. Well, that's immediacy point of view of where the revenues will come from, where the growth will come from. Uh, that 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 requires some amount of debate as regard to whether this will be organic growth, or it will be shift of demand from urban, or actually there will be a growth in rural which is going there to stay. That's one part. But one thing has definitely come to our realization is that the unbridled growth of urbanism which was taking place, people going away from rural area to urban,
Yeah.
the poor quality of life of them in the urban areas, and today so a lot of these are being questioned, and so a very interesting question is coming to our mind is that is are we looking, we have been talking about a lot about smart cities and smart towns and things like that. I was also wondering, is it a time has come where the policymakers will look at smart villages, rather
Yes.
than smart city, which has a kind of self-sufficiency. Many things could be drawn around it. We have been doing things in bits in uh, by different agencies we have been engaged with. So that along with certain structural changes which is taking place today, like in agriculture, the going away of Essential Commodities Act, the dilution of APMC Act, the ability of the farmer to sell directly to the market, the connect of the farmer directly with the or the producer directly with the consumer. So a lot of these things, tells me that something is good on the unveil for the rural.
Yes.
And it is not one of the me too or which you look at by saying that the urban markets have got saturated, hence we should look at rural. I think there is a shift in the way you look at and in the electoral importance, rural will always be very important, so the policymakers have never been able to take their eyes off rural. compounded with that post-COVID, I think rural will get more attention only. And some of the key considerations like, people coming back to their source states, from the destination states to the source states. This raises the question that how do they earn their living there? These are the questions we have to answer. We just cannot go away by saying that when are they going to return? That's not the fundamental question. That question was by economic consideration in the past, but today these questions I think will impact some way the rural markets, the rural livelihood, the kind of investment we are making in rural livelihood, and hence rural consumption and contribution of rural market to the Indian economy. This is we are off for some very pleasant surprises, I would rather say. I look at it very positively.
Sir, you have a very long, almost 4 decades of experience with the FMCG sector. And so what is the change in their buying behavior? And post-COVID, there's going to be a lot of change in the buying behavior. And moreover, there has been always that FMCG targets the women. All right. So how do you see that the buying pattern and the buying behavior is going to be changing in the coming times? And what should the consumers, the FMCG companies need to keep in mind while they are looking at the changes which is happening in their daily buying behavior?
Okay, so FMCG is a very large segment. In fact, it's the 4th largest segment in the Indian economy. And in rural, it continues to be very high. About 40-45% of the FMCG sales come from rural and balance from urban. So having said that, and it has been growing at different paces at different points of time. But it's one segment you cannot take your eyes off. No, a good FMCG player, a strong FMCG player will be able to take his eyes off rural. So having said that, there are 3 points I would like to make as far as FMCG is concerned. Because all of us know the general obvious things because we have handled this segment for far too long. And the 3 elements which looks important to me, one is where does the demand come from? Where does the money come in the hands of the consumer? Okay, so we know there are 4 or 5 or 6 major areas from where the money comes: the livelihood areas, the agriculture, the non-agriculture segment, the non-agri segment, which is basically dairy, poultry, and the allied segments, which is coming, not non-agri but allied segments. The third one is the construction activities which takes place. 4th one is the manufacturing activities takes place. Then there is the services sector from which the income comes, and there is a very major part which is the what we call the segment where the people send money back home having gone to the urban areas to work, which we call as rural remittances, which is about 2 lakh crores per rural remittances, which is about 2 lakh crore per annum. So having said that, in this entire game, the contribution of agriculture has decreased as a part of total, as a percentage of the net rural income. Contribution of agriculture has increased. So the number of people involved in agriculture has not to that extent. But the services sector or the non-agri sector income has considerably gone up. And there is evidence to say that when the non-agri income or the non-farm income comes into the hands of people in the rural area, there is a direct impact on the kind of products that they use. There is more of use of branded products, right? Which is where the FMCG comes in. So non-farm income as a key to rural consumption, driving rural consumption is the first big point that I would like to make. It's a very significant. So all of us should look at what kind of contribution manufacturing sector is having, for example, what kind of construction activities are taking, what is the reskilling we are doing away from farming in terms of government initiatives. All this gives money in the hands of the consumer. So it is very important for a rural marketeer to know various kind of inputs which the government, non-government agencies are doing, which is increasing the non-farm income in the rural area. That's the first point I would like to make. The second point with respect to FMCG is that the rural women as a very powerful consumer group. That's a very, very significant part. You might be aware that the percentage of women who work in rural area is higher than urban, almost 35% of women work in the rural area, whereas about 25-26% of women work in urban areas. So this all has led to having a little more money in their hands, creation of awareness about various product services going out of home and working. Aspirations have increased because they have money in hand, and a kind of empowerment, if I may say, a kind of empowerment of rural women is another factor which one has to keep in mind. And there are many initiatives. For example, the self-help groups, the SHGs, the SHGs may or may not be involved in any economic activity. If they are involved in economic activity, women do get empowered in that. But even if they are not involved in economic activity, if it is only a group which get together and they meet, and there are many times government approaches them for many awareness program creations, private sector approaches them. They are the kind of awareness which is created, about products and services, the kind of what should I say, the kind of exposure that they get is some kind of a change over a period of time. This has made the women a very powerful consumer group in rural India. Possibly a very significant and important part of women in rural area today think, what is good for my family, what is good for my family, what is good for my children. Today he or she is keen that her child should go to an English medium school, it should wear good clothes, it should be fed with wholesome food. Gone are the days when these people used to think that no, rural India का है तो शायद नहीं होगा, कहीं पे भी पढ़ा लेगी. No, it is not. So where from this has come? This has come from by creation of awareness. Whether you say it is because he has seen in the TV, or it's a word of mouth, or she is exposed to digital. These are all, we can make research to find it out. But this is showing in her behavior. This is the second point. Working women seems to have a higher bargaining power rather than the woman who is at home and is not working. And they are having a say not only in low-ticket FMCG product, but also a say in many decisions that the husband is taking. And this is more prominent in progressive rural states. Progressive rural states like Punjab, Haryana, and even to and many parts of North, vis-a-vis some of the laggard rural states, which may be Eastern UP, Bihar, Jharkhand, and things like that. But this is a phenomenon to watch. Then the second point is that the role of the mother. The role of the mother has significantly been evolving in the rural area. She is full of, I would say, the rural woman today is full of optimism. She wants her child to have a better life. She wants her child to be given whatever she can afford. So this kind of a change in her outlook is something which is very positive from the perspective of a rural marketeer. In providing quality services, quality products, quality services in the rural areas. So she wants her child to eat well. Whatever money she has got, she wants the cost, quality, and ease of use. That connotation, that three vectors of is something which just centers her decision today. So one of the key factors for the rural marketeer always is to see how do you create awareness. How do you engage with this powerful group of women, or also to an extent to the mother in the house. So these are factors which you have to always keep in mind, whether it be in designing a product, in packaging, in the way you create your messaging, whether you keep the fine balance between the emotional versus the functional content of your message, which is very age old, but keeping women in focus in the rural market is something the FMCG player, basically most importantly the FMCG market player, has to keep in mind. Another factor which is coming, she is no longer very dependent on the general influencers that you had in the village. Today, she possibly talks to an educated youth who goes to the cities often. She possibly will talk to an electrician saying that मेरे घर के लिए कौन सी bulb अच्छी है. Earlier this was not the case. There used to be very legacy wise, if you see, we used to say that the influencers are these types, 1 2 प्रधान होगा या गांव की मुखिया होगी या आंगनवाड़ी वर्कर होगा, उसी को ही पूछेगी, बट वो नहीं है, वो अभी वो चेंज हुआ है, वो एक बहुत बड़ी पॉइंट है. So these are the 2 or 3 key things I am seeing. And one of the point is that one study was made, which I read some time back, which said that only 34% of the women, only 34% of women make the purchase decisions on FMCG products based on price. So balance 66% based on price. Balance 60% still buy products per criteria which is other than price, which could be trust, which could be brand, which could be loyalty, which could be cost and price connotation and all that. So price, as we always say that the age-old thinking about rural was that affordability, awareness, and availability. Availability, awareness, affordability, awareness, availability. Rural, I think one of the grievance I have against myself and to many people who have been rural market, that many a time we think rural as not a market but as a geography. Which is a little sad, In urban, for example, if I tell you, if someone is using, one marketeer will slice and dice that market in so many ways. She belongs to what SEC classification, what is her lifestyle, create a lifestyle of the woman. Then you will do several what you known as consumer immersions to find out what kind of lipstick will go, what is the price point, and how she look like, how she will hold it. But when it comes to rural, except for possibly some amount of work which some of the companies have done in great detail, many times rural we tend to assume as a geography. One set of customers. Rural women is one set.
So you just spoke about the aspiration level. All right. You have influx of best of TV, internet, all the facilities which are available. So aspiration level, you mean to say today brands need not to be looking just the price factor, but they have to look at the kind of the packaging, the kind of quality of the product. That's what you're coming at?
Yes, that's what I'm coming at. The same study also said that almost 50+% of women gather information about the product from word of mouth. दूसरे ने क्या बनाया, brand quality देखते हैं, लेकिन तूने ये use किया, कैसा था product का, वो देखते हैं. Next point is that they also get very much influence when they go to a shop. So there, possibly 2 things are important. One is that they look at brands. They look at they do give value to the shopkeeper, what the shopkeeper says, but at the same time the product optical, the way the product looks, the physical part of the product, the packaging also is another factor which is very important. So here Sanjay
ji, just tell me one thing. रूरल के अंदर एक बहुत बड़ा चैलेंज ये आता है कि the shopkeepers does not keep those kind of brands in their shop. All right. So for that, they probably need to go to the urban areas or go to the nearest towns or cities where they can get this brand. So why aren't they storing? Don't they see that there is an opportunity which is lying over there? Probably if it is there on the display or it is a display on the retail, then probably they're going to pick up the products.
No, I think the staples and the basically home care and personal products and foods. If you see, 80% of the consumption still gets purchased from the rural market, from the village only. It is the only 20% who will be ever going to a market which is a bigger market to buy. In the non-food and non-staples and non-FMCG categories, you find people go to urban areas to buy, in various purposes. But otherwise, FMCG still it is the 80% of the purchase takes place in the rural area. So that's one point I would like to emphasize. So what happens is that yes, there was always this question we had, that what is the benefits that you give to a rural retailer so that he pushes your product, right? So some of the local brands we always used to get impacted, or regional brands, that they will give more margins because they have less overheads and they have smaller outfits, so they will always sway the demand towards they will always bribe the retailer to push their own brands. पुरानी बातें हैं. अभी जो अच्छे ब्रांड हैं उनके एक्टिवेशन लेवल, एडवर्टाइजमेंट इतने साल में इस लेवल तक पहुंची है कि these are very established brands today and they have become a part of the life of the rural consumers. In fact, one of the in COVID के बाद में एक अजीब सी थोड़ी important बात यह है कि कोई भी रिसेशन आपकी होती है उस वक्त it is not the bigger player, though even if it is slightly maybe a little costlier, it get impacted. It is the smaller brands or the local brands which gets impacted, because during this phase whatever money someone has got, and more so during the period of COVID, post COVID, people will go for more trust brands which they trust, brands which they can with whom which has been a part of their life, and they will not like to downgrade themselves in terms of the brand or the product or the category just because they have been impacted. They may use a smaller pack size, they may use lesser number of times, but they would not change the brand. So I think that the question, if the local brand or the regional brand has been strong historically, the situation is different. There the question is that how do you fight it out for a branded FMCG player? That's the question you have to ask. But I think that if you go to a rural market today, counterfeit brands are, yes, they are available. They still trouble us, but they are kind of present and not present. For example, during the COVID time, they have been maximum impacted because their supply chain was impacted maximum of the smaller players. Somewhere where the stocks were there, some people suddenly said, okay, look, the branded products are moving less, the bigger players are moving less, and it's the smaller players. It was not so. It is just because their products possibly didn't get sold, they had more of stock. So initial period of lockdown, you found a lot of these products surfacing in the market when the supply chain, the major brands were impacted. But I think that that is the passe, that doesn't hold. In the rural FMCG, all the major 7 or 8 players which are there across India, you can play about 7 or 8 very major FMCG players in the food and the personal and home care. They have established a very strong chain of supply, as well as a reasonably good media selection of media vehicles to create awareness. So that, I think, is no longer the question.
But then how do you ensure the communication which has such a large country, so many languages, so much of dialect? So how do you build up your plan for them?
Well, I have 2 theories, which is again about the evolution of Indian market. Number one is digital. In digital, I would not come to the awareness creation level and the media, the role of media in digital. First, about the selection of the market. In the selection, we have about 6 lakh villages in the country, 5.95 lakh villages in the country. In the rural, the way government defines it, our census defines urban and the balance is rural. In that, which are those villages where we should be present to be available at the maximum points? So which are those feeder markets? So that selection using digital technology is something which is very, very evolutionary. In my entire first 30 years of my career, we used to scratch our head, and we used to, push the stocks the way we go as it was visible to us. So every time there was a new Columbus who will come and search for a new market, you said, I have found, in this particular district, these are the villages where nobody has gone, I am the first. Even today, I find many of the young managers, they suddenly go and say, rural is very potential, and these are the markets which are completely uncovered. But sometimes the question used to ask is that, am I the first one? How is it possible that nobody else has discovered? So people have discovered and they have left. Why did they leave? Or people did not discover because of what? So these are the questions which I think digital is giving us a tremendous amount of opportunity in terms of, whether there are many models which is there in the market in terms of finding out which are the market where you should focus your attention in. That's the first point. Second point is that considering the size of the country, and there are progressive rural states and there are laggard rural states, right? And the penetration of television, as you know, television is the most...
How do you define them, the progressive and the laggard?
Well, you can take it in terms of prosperity. There are many indices. For example, the RK Swami had a market potential value. So every district wide it has a MPV value. So we can say beyond this MPV, I would like to consider them as progressive, and below this MPV, I will consider them to be laggard states. So in each of these market, the level of penetration of television, other media, and digital is at different stages of maturity. Right. So when you start creating awareness for the consumer, still now I find, though people keep on asking me, and there are many reports saying that somewhere pushing people to say that look, digital is the new way of advertising. The cost will come down, and you can make very targeted consumer segments to be addressed through digital. It sounds very good. It sounds very good. One of the things in rural, Ajay, one must know what not to do rather than what to do. Because that is where you would not come to know, and you will blow up your money like anything before you realize that कि इतना पैसा बह गया और कोई बोलने के लिए भी आपको नहीं होगा. और इतना
I'm just very keen to know what not to do.
What not to is that don't jump into the digital wagon as far as media and creating awareness is concerned, saying that I can find out all the women on one particular area on their mobile phone and push a SMS or a OBD or any kind of message, and she is going to see her next day morning. I'm going to see her at the FMCG shop buying my product. Please look at whether can you do that. Do you have the data point? Do you know who is your customer? These are not very simple questions to answer, and digital is not, by the way, that cheap. If you really look at it's not very cheap. If you really look at the spillovers vis-a-vis television, and also if you look at the way you are targeting your customer, whether it is reaching, and if it is reaching, he or she is reading it or not, is engaging with it or not. But vis-a-vis that, I think for at least a few years, television will rule the roost. There, I have no doubt about it. So, if you want to use digital, we can discuss what are the elements in which digital can be powerful medium. That's another question. We will take it up later. But I mean, first will be television, followed by your good old ways of wall painting, van and man, and what you used to do, and last but not the least is relationship-based marketing. This is very, very powerful, which is cause-based marketing that used to say. Like, for example, the Sakti Amma project of Unilever was there. Colgate also did quite a few projects. Horlicks did some projects on this. Yeah, and all of them at every point of time. And why did they do it? Was it the only way that they could have? But no. Somewhere research told them that trust and relationship plays a very important role in her decision making, and that is possibly cannot be achieved only through a one-way communication of television or media. So if I want to engage, can I have another way of engaging with her where I am able to make an impression and has a larger share of her mind and her decision making towards my brand, while at the same time conveying something of benefit to her. So, like, for example, in Sakti, they talked about the hygiene of women, right? And that was that served a purpose. After that, whether the person used your brand or X or Y or Z brand, that was different. So this cause-related marketing is a very important tool. Now, it's very costly tool also, because you have to send a person, he has to go to the village, he has to meet the women, and physically when you are going at the call. But then the point is that, does digital play a role? These are very, very interesting questions.
So, coming back, so you mentioned about the various mediums and all. Let's assume there is a manufacturer who wants to focus on, let's say, Bihar and UP, which happens to be one of the largest markets around. Should they focus on a digital strategy, or should they focus on a TV? Because I mean, if I have to look at between these two, what would you advise? Of course, there's other mediums with outdoors and other thing, but what would you suggest? What mediums they should take in?
First of all, two suggestions. If you want to enter a market, this is a very bad time to enter. delay your decision,
Yes.
the money will get blown off. Don't try. People, the trust and the brands which have been a part of the life of the customer will remain. So this is not the right time to enter. Wait for a little while before you enter. Number one. Number two is that television, I will put my money on if I want the maximum amount of awareness creation about my brand. But if I am a smaller brand, I have no money to put in television, or I'm a MSME, which is trying to get into a market. I will rather focus on a relatively smaller geographical segment, and I would rather do activation at retail shops, retail outlets within the limited I have got. Create possibly a program in which I connect to the women or the men of that particular geography through the physical mode. Even if I have less, I would rather like availability, good quality, and a trust-based relationship. These are the three things I will go if I don't have much money. But if I can afford a few crores to be spent on advertisement, I will put my money on television advertisement rather than trying to do anything digital.
Okay. And
At this
how
particular
yeah. With respect to the supply chain, what do you see in the FMCG sector? How is it evolving? There is a lot of changes which are coming up. So what do you see in terms of the supply chain?
Yeah, so there are two or three other points about the consumer. We can talk about it a little later. You see, as far as digital is concerned, many people ask me that do you think we can reach the customer using digital technology in a more cost-effective manner?
Yes.
You see, there are two things in rural. One is desirability, and another is practicability. I can desire in many things to happen because it looks so to an urban mind, saying that कि ऐसा होगा, लेकिन वो हो सकता है क्या? वो practical है क्या? And when you are an entrepreneur yourself, or you are a company's product manager and you have X amount of budget, you will always see what 1 rupee where I invest and I get the maximum return, right?
Very yes.
So that's the consideration you have. The one point where if you call innovation of using digital has been very strong in rural is the supply chain. So in supply chain, in terms of reducing cost to serve, digital has been used very significantly, be it in terms of trying to find out how the information asymmetry, that means what demand the retailer has, how soon it gets conveyed to the distributor, and do the production point. That chain, how does it become real time? So people collect orders by tablet. So from tablet, now you have come to apps on the mobile phone. Even a third-party promoter of a FMCG company also has an app on a Chinese phone, and very light applications. You can order the product, and the moment you order the product, you can almost assume that it has gone to the distributor, and if he's thinking at least once a day or once in 2 days, it goes to the production point directly. So from the retail point to the production point, that as information asymmetry has become that's one point. It's a very big point, in the supply chain. Number two is that geotagging of salesmen's routes. This has happened across segments. Even microfinance institutions, they are people who are going to rural areas, and उनका geotag करके आज वो market में गया कि नहीं, because there used to be a lot of transmission loss in this. In my times, you can never find out whether the guy went there or didn't go there, and yet the demand comes. So if you are talking about trust-based relationship, and if you are talking about go and touch base with the retailer, go and meet the rural mother, so it's necessary that you go actually, right? So if you are saying that you need to go, then how do you know that your salesman has gone or has not gone? So geotagging of salesman routes is something which then next is the reach extension, the which point I talked about. How do you find out which are the villages where you should go first, the first priority villages and second priority, not by the physics law of path of least resistance. गाड़ी में चले जा रहे हैं, रास्ते में मार्केट आता गया, कवर करते रहे, एक दिन के अंदर में जितना कवर किया वो हो गया. अभी आपने देखा कि एक अच्छे मार्केट किया और 3 छोटे मार्केट करने के बाद दिन खत्म हो गई. उसके बाद 4th मार्केट जो था वो सबसे बड़ी थी, लेकिन अब वापस आ गए. So this by repeatedly hit and trial, people have learned. So if a new marketeer, he will go bunkers on this. He will try to appoint someone who has worked for another company and try to find out, which are the bigger markets. So there are many models over that. For example, there are many people who are doing heat mapping of a particular geography on the top to find out how many kacha houses and how many pakka houses are there. The more the pakka houses, they feel that is a more prosperous area. This is one small example I gave. There could be many examples, many ways of doing it. Then reduction in number of intermediate points, because you are able to collect orders and pass on the information directly to the company with the least possible seamlessly. Can you reduce the number of intermediate points that you have? So hence the digital is possibly helping you to address to direct distribution, and also having a digital touch point in your company about the exact consumer, exact retailer who is using your product. Earlier हमारे पास ये पहले नहीं थी. एक लेवल के बाद में वो ब्लाइंड स्पॉट हो जाता था. उसके बाद माल कहाँ गया सर मालूम नहीं है कहाँ गया. वो तो बहुत बिकता है. अभी वहां से शहर में वापस आया, किस तरफ गया मालूम नहीं. आज आपके पास वो अवेलेबल. रूरल रिटेलर ऐप यूज करके ऑर्डर देगा, वो जमाना अभी तक नहीं आया. But after COVID, one of the things which has taken place, because the retailer is now also forced that salesman nahi aa raha hai, or he is possibly getting adapted to giving a order on telephone, pushing his orders on WhatsApp, or maybe companies are also thinking of using call centers, calling of the retailers, and this could be a cheaper way. This is again a digital way of, and you are creating a touch point of that retailer in your system, in saying that what is his buying behavior, what have you been buying more, what has been buying less. Then the next last point is that activation. In supply chain, activation also is a very big part. People who have been in agencies, they would know. You have some company has given you 50,000 villages to be covered. Okay, now it is by bike or by van you used to send, but never you used to come to know that actually what happened. For example, you say that you have to get 20 women or 20 men together and conduct a program for them. Very simple thing. Now he would call 20, but how do you know that he called 20 or 10? And how will you know that those 10 who have come also did not have 2 children? Now he can click a photograph. How do you know the authenticity of the photograph? So some companies have this system of creating a meeting ID. You create a meeting ID, and all the people who have come, you ask them to give a missed call to a particular number, and then your number gets stored there. And if these are numbers of that village who are, let us say, a particular community that you wanted to address you, and you wanted to address them again the next month, again the month after, you can have a kind of system built in where you will be able to track whether the same person is coming, how many times the same message is being given in the activation program, how many people had come, and nowadays people don't change their mobile numbers also, as it used to happen earlier. So the touch point of the customer, digital touch point of the customer, is also very much traceable today. So these are some of the ways in which rural supply chain of whether it is services or activation or product supplies, digital is coming a long way. I think more than awareness, where we tend to say that awareness how to create and think like that, people have not possibly realized that using digital, how much of advantage they have got in terms of rural supply chain. Because dispersion of demand and how to make the supply in a cost-effective manner used to be the most relevant question for many of the companies, to keep the cost low yet be made available.
And now the migration which has happened, so is it a boon or ban for the FMCG sector?
Well, initially when it happened, migration happened, at that point of time, there are two kinds of thoughts. They said that it is good that these people used to have a poor quality of life. They have come back, and घर में रह के थोड़ा कमाना अच्छा है, बाहर में रह के ज़्यादा कमाने से भी. So all this may lead to a better availability of labor in rural areas. Harvesting उस वक्त चल रही थी, तो लोगों ने बोला हार्वेस्ट के लिए लेबर हमारी मिल जाएगी यहाँ पे. तो अभी जैसे कि हार्वेस्टिंग खत्म हुआ, अभी एक थॉट प्रोसेस ये है कि इतने लोग जो शहर में कमाते थे, और this migrant labor used to, as I told you, about 2 lakh crore, about 2 lakh crore का उनका remittance था. 13 करोड़ का मार्केट, हाँ ऑलमोस्ट 40 करोड़ का लेबर फोर्स में से इनका नंबर ऑलमोस्ट 13 करोड़ था, उसमें से 9 करोड़ यूज्ड टू बी इंटर स्टेट एंड 4 करोड़ टू बी इंट्रा स्टेट. एंड उस दिन जो प्रदीप कश्यप जी दिखा रहे थे अपने सर्वे में अबाउट ही इज सेइंग अबाउट 2.5 to 3 crores ऑफ लेबर हैज कम बैक. नाउ दिस लेबर आर स्किल्ड एज वेल एज अनस्किल्ड. लेट अस से अनस्किल्ड लेबर, he may find it easier to relatively easier, I will use the word, relatively easier to find some work in the village, whether it's a farm labor or with working in construction activity or a narega. But let's look at a skilled labor, a carpenter or a plumber who's a computer. Do you think that he will go and work in a field? May not be. So when will he come back? We don't know. Now how much savings he has got in the rural areas to survive? So will it add to the rural woes, or it will just because people are available, the consumption will go up? Yes, the consumption will go up because number of people are there. The consumption is not bound to fall. But overall, on a long-term basis, government has a significant role to play here. So it will all depend in the next 2 to 3 months in states like Bihar and UP. What are the kind of engagements government does for the migrant labor, whether it be in terms of skill development, which will not obviously have an immediate impact. It will be a medium to long-term impact. Narega, in Narega, what are the kind of, in the schemes, what kind of benefits they are going to give? Narega में 100 दिन का काम के जगह में हम लोग देखें कि 40 से 50 दिन का काम लोगों को मिलता था. Government was not able to provide that kind of work. Narega का काम दे सकता है क्या? Allied dairy activity में my friend Sodi in Amul used to say that 15,000 crore, हाँ 15,000 crore रुपया जो गवर्नमेंट ने डेयरी के सेक्टर के लिए दिया, 15,000 करोड़ में आप 150 लाख लीटर दूध का प्रोडक्शन कैपेसिटी बना सकते हैं. और 1 लाख लीटर के दूध में आपका, अगर 1 लाख लीटर का दूध आप देखेंगे तो 1 लाख लीटर के दूध में कम से कम आपका 5,000 आपका रूरल jobs that can, rural and urban jobs that can be created. Plus 30 lakh families, 1 लाख लीटर में 30 लाख करीब families जो है वो आपका उनको डायरेक्ट आपको. तो this is a sector which one has to work upon, and these are, thanks to Operation Flood, these sectors, the rural supply chain of milk is, I will say, reasonably good in our country. Otherwise, you wouldn't have become the largest milk producer in the world. So yes, one of the questions to ask, Ajay, many times we get tired with successful models, because human mind, and we Indians are, like this gentleman wrote The Argumentative Indian, we always keep on thinking of what is new, what is so exciting, how digital is going to, change the world, and overnight things will become, it sounds good, but these are very successful models, they are very, very successful models. So I keep on thinking a producer-owned organization like the Amul, or today the farmer-producer organization, they are very, very solid models. In terms of rural emancipation, they are very solid. Somewhere in the process of globalization, I would like to ask a question: Have we taken our eyes off them? And suddenly at today, because of COVID and the rural migration, we are suddenly, rural has become more important for us, and the growth is coming more because urban is not growing. Are we still looking at rural in a selfish manner, but not looking at rural livelihood creation as a major? So I think that the essential commodities are freeing the farmers, from they can sell to anyone they want to as per the market prices. The APMC Act, there are a lot of changes the government has done, but still I think that government has a very big role to play if the migrant labor which has come back to the source states, this has to be advantageous to rural economy. The government has a very big role to play. If it is not, then I don't think we are looking at a very healthy situation in the future, with so many people coming and not able to go back to their workplaces because of whatever, the lockdown or because of fear and things like that.
Friends, we need to stop the video here itself, because the discussion with Sanjay Panegri has been very, very lengthy, and there has been so much of insights which has been shared. And most importantly, when he talks about what is most important not to do in the rural markets. So this part we are going to be carrying in the second part, and don't forget to watch the complete video. Please do share and subscribe and stay tuned. Thank you and take care. Bye-bye.